So it's 1 a.m. in the morning, you're very, very tired after finishing another course on JavaScript. A few weeks back, you decided you want to change something in your life, that you want to become a developer. You heard it's a really nice job and that you can earn really nice money, and the job itself is very, very interesting. So you start learning, you watch a lot of tutorials, you build something, and then you applied. And you applied to 20, 50, 100 companies for the junior position, but nothing really happened. No one replied. So you get frustrated. You don't know what's going on, and should you stop, or will you ever get your first job? And how does it work? Because it's junior job, and they say that on the other hand they require like at least 1 year or 2 years experience. But what the heck? I mean, it's junior job. So does it mean that you're never gonna get your first job? No. And I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, so very often you ask me in comments on Facebook, Messenger, on direct messages, how to get my first job and how does it actually work? And very often you are confused because, it's called junior job, right? And on the other hand, they require you to have like 1 or 2 years experience, and all job offers are like that. So how the heck you can get this first year of employment in any company? So let's start from the beginning. Let's start from scratch. The main issue is that within IT, we mixed up this position very, very, very badly, and that happened sometimes back. So basically, what happens is that within IT, we have distinction between junior, mid, and senior. Now, if you think of it, let's assume that we're gonna call junior someone who has no experience, right? So I'm gonna hire someone with no experience. I'm gonna call him a junior. But then, how do I call someone who has 1 year or 2 years experience? Is it mid? Okay, let's call it mid. But then, how can I distinguish with someone who has already 3 or 4 years? Well, that could be senior, obviously. But what then? What after 4, 5, 6 years, right? I mean, if you start your first job in age of 20. By 24, you could be senior if we apply this metric. But what else? I mean, how do I call someone who has like 28, who is 28 years old and have 8 years experience? Like ninja, perhaps, maybe some Zen master or whatever. So this is totally wrong. And there used to be in the past this distinction that junior is like 1 to 2 years, mid is like 3 to 5, and then 5. Above 5, you have a senior. But then look at this. I mean, we end up in situation where you can be 30 years old and you are senior. There is nothing above you, right? So there is something definitely wrong with it, because, in other jobs, like look at the MD, look at the lawyers. When you are 30, you're just starting your first grade, right? You're starting your journey, and it's gonna last for the next 30 years. And the same in IT, but we haven't solved that yet. We haven't figured it out. So that's why these names are very, they means different things to different people, different companies, and so on. And let me go even deeper into that, because, we very like to say that we need someone with 2 years experience or 5 years experience or whatsoever. But what does it actually mean? I mean, I know I've been working with people who are have been working in IT industry for 10 years, but they are still on the same project. They're doing exactly the same, and they didn't learn anything new except what they learned in their very first year. Do they have 10 years experience? No, they have 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. So that's why it's very difficult when it comes to, hiring IT people. It's very difficult to judge only, based on the experience, based on resume. That doesn't work that way. So that's why you shouldn't be scared of these numbers. So if you don't know where to apply, I'm gonna tell you later in this video. But first thing I want you to remember is that this junior, mid, senior, this is like arguable. And I also would like to warn you that once you are developer, once you have your job, you shouldn't go too fast thinking about yourself as a senior, because that's gonna hit you back sooner or later. I mean, you're gonna see that there is still a lot to learn ahead, and the technologies are changing very fast, and there's always something to learn. There is something new to discover. So coming back to the original question, yeah, I mean, these companies basically are looking for junior developers, but when junior means for them someone who has like 1 or 2 years experience. This person usually knows something, but when you get your very first job, for the first couple of months or perhaps years, depending on job position and you, mostly, you gonna be learning something new. Because if we think of this example, let's think about the person from our intro. So someone who didn't code before, who start learning, who go through different tutorials or coding schools, and you learn all the basics, you know what the variables are, what the functions are, you know some concepts, and so on and so on. But in the end, you have no commercial experience. Obviously, you don't have that because you didn't have chance to get them. So what should you do in this situation? In my opinion, it's fairly simple. You should keep on trying to A, learn something new, B, build something, and C, apply for a job. And most probably you're gonna be rejected very, very often. But once, after some time, when you learn enough, when you code enough, when you create enough projects, you're gonna get the invitation to your interview, and that's gonna be a step ahead. Doesn't mean that you're gonna be accepted, but that's already a step ahead. So I'm gonna tell you what is important for me when I hire junior developers. So there are certainly few things which I require to know from people who can have zero commercial experience, but they have to know these principles. And these principles are: A, you need to have basic knowledge about coding. Obviously, I do not require from people who want to join our company to know very sophisticated ways of coding, but you need to have this programming spirit. You have to know what the variables are, what functions are. I need to see that you code something already in the past. And obviously that wasn't commercial. That could be just like to-do list or something. And actually it's very good if it's not gonna be to-do list, because everyone is doing to-do list, right? This is something which I very often see. So, there are these coding camps and so on and so on. And then, people after this coding camp apply to us, and I have like 25 resume with 25 exactly the same projects, which are written exactly the same way, which they were taught on a course. So do something more, go extra mile, and write something else. Create something unique to you. It doesn't have to be, you need to go very sophisticated. Just show something else than other show. So the basic knowledge of code. This is number one. Secondly, control version. You should know how to use it. And then again, no one requires from you in your first job to know how to rebase work in Git, but you should know how to commit changes, how to push them, pull, and so on and so on. So basic knowledge, it's not rocket science. And if you don't know that, check our tutorials, because we have tutorials, 20 minutes tutorial, which is gonna teach you that. Then the other thing I also would like to have, this is not mandatory, I would say optional, or actually mandatory, but taking into consideration the level of knowledge. So I would like to know you about unit tests. And I don't require you to do them very properly, but I want you to know that something like that exists. And I would like to see your attempts to do that. And probably they're gonna be wrong, because many people do that very wrong, but you should know what it is and why you actually should use that. And finally, something which isn't perhaps very technical part, but something which is the most important to me, to be honest. And when I talk to people on the interview, what I'm seeking for, I know that you don't have knowledge, but you have to have willingness to learn, and you should be open, and you should be aware that you know very little, And the coming months and coming years in this industry are gonna be very challenging for you, and they're gonna be, they're gonna require from you a proper mindset, when you want to learn, and you have to, you have to be ready to accept that mindset. You have to have this mindset that I know very little, but I'm eager to learn, and I'm gonna do my best to do it. So if I'm making a mistake, I'm gonna read about this mistake, not to make this again. Oh, and by the way, there is one more thing, and this is again something which isn't strictly technical, and to be honest, it costs you nothing. And what I'm thinking of is the way you're dealing with problems. I remember when I was a student and I was accepted to my first internship, and this was when I was working for Accenture, the biggest IT corporate in the world. And I was accepted to a project with some other students and guys doing internships. And I've just encountered some error, and there were some other senior developers. So what do? You see the error, you don't understand it, so you ask, obviously, right? Because you want to solve your task, you want to solve your issue. So you ask them. And a very good friend of mine, a senior developer at this time, he just looked at me. I look at the code, look at me again, and say, dude, have you read that? I mean, it's self-explanatory. I mean, I know it's new to you, but look, you have a line where the error is. You have the error code. Google it, find it. And I was so embarrassed with this. I mean, I felt so bad. And that was the very first lesson I got, but very, very precious lesson, which helped me a lot, because from that day, I become almost independent. What I mean by that is that I've seen my friends doing this all the time, and they were keep on asking. But before I asked about certain issue, I made sure that I check all the possibilities. So I tried to Google it. I searched on Stack Overflow. I even asked on the Stack Overflow. I checked Facebook groups. I tried to solve that myself. And only when I didn't find a solution, I come to senior colleagues. And usually, if I didn't find a solution within an hour, usually this error was really, really complex, and even they had issues with solving that. So this is something important for you to know, and this costs nothing. And this is not about how many courses you do, how much you're gonna spend on the books. No, it's your attitude. And obviously there are other things like being on time, being communicative. So there are these things which makes you better developer. So coming back to original question. So if you're starting, code, do something. Think of the projects, try different tutorials, build something, create your portfolio, and then apply. And don't be afraid to apply. I mean, in the worst case, they're not gonna accept you. That's nothing. Right? They're just gonna reject your CV, and that's it. So that happened to me as well, right? I mean, maybe not intentionally, but let me tell you quickly this story. When I was working for another company, I was working as an IT consultant. So long story short, I mean, the company sells you as an IT guy who knows everything, literally everything, for the ridiculous amount of cash for them, obviously. I mean, our customers were paying a lot of cash for my job. So the customer basically, think that you are a god because you know everything, and salesman who is selling me to the project doesn't really care about anything, because actually there's one thing he cares about is the salary and his installments, in the sense that he sold, so he delivered, so he's happy because he sold something. But Java or JavaScript doesn't matter for them, right? He just sold it. So what happened to me is that I was sold to the area which was totally not my expertise. To be honest, I didn't have any clue. You know what? I was sold as a Java. I was supposed to be a Java programmer at this point of time, and I was sold as a PowerShell programmer. And obviously, I know what PowerShell is. No, I mean, that's not the case. But I haven't write a single line of code in the PowerShell before I get there. And imagine this situation: I'm sold. I'm going to customer, and I have no clue on PowerShell. What do? Do you tell customer, oh, sorry, there was a mistake? No. You spent first week like sitting whole night and doing all tutorials and trying to figure out, and you're trying to solve this cases, this issue, the task you have. And after all, after 2 weeks, I got up to speed, and this is what happens also when you're a programmer, right? Obviously, different programming languages, they have some special thing which are different from other languages. They are, but in general, the concept is pretty much the same. So after a few years working as a programmer, you can quite easily switch to another programming language. And obviously you're still not an expert because you need time to become an expert, but you can do something, you can solve issues. And that's what I encourage you to do as well. You see, junior developer, they require 1 year or 2 years experience. You don't have it, screw it, just apply. In the worst case, they're not gonna invite you for your interview. So, and even if they're gonna invite you to interview, well, that's good, step ahead for you, and let them judge whether you know enough, and be honest on that. And obviously respect your and their time. So if they're looking for developer, Android developer, and you have no clue, you never even write a hello world in any language which is used for Android development, don't waste their time. Obviously, don't send your resume. But if you already did some projects, just send the projects and let them judge. And don't be afraid of that. And the self-confidence also on the interviews will come, the more you attend them, the more you talk with those people, you're going to see. And you're going to see there's nice people. I mean, they're not, they're not going to scream on you. They're not going to tell you you're a dumb ass. No, nothing like that. And finally, if you... finally you got accepted, congratulations. But you may think that, oh God, what now? I got accepted, but I have no experience. Don't worry, that's how it works. And even if you were accepted to the position which you are not eligible and your knowledge is insufficient, there are two ways. Right? Either you start learning very quickly, get up to speed, which is very, very good attitude, because at this moment from my life, I was the most efficient and I learned a lot, and it was really crazy time, very exhausting, but very, very, very important in my life. Or it may happen that still they require too much from you, but this is not your fault. This is fault of the people who during recruitment process didn't spot that. And so don't be worried. In the worst case, you're gonna find another job. That's nothing to be really, really worried about. So to quickly summarize what we discussed: A, learn something. Respect your time, respect time of recruiters, and make sure that you have a proper basis. You never know what this basis is, but let's assume that you have been coding for a few weeks and you've built some projects that basics of, let's say, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, let's say, for the front-end development, that you know how to manipulate DOM, you don't have to know what React, Vue, Angular is. You don't need to be an expert in that, but the concept of it. You are pretty good with Pure.js, you know how to do Ajax calls, and so on and so on. Try to build relay applications. So, think of some application, build some front end for that, build some back end, try to talk to database, and so on and so on. You don't know before you get your first and second and third job what your area of expertise is going to be, and it's going to change and it's going to fluctuate a lot. So don't be focused that you want to just do one thing. Just get the first job, and then it's easier to switch when you get it. So learn basics. B, apply for a job. In the worst case, they're not going to accept you. In the worst case, they're not going to reply to your email. That's it. Nothing's going to happen. C, if you are accepted, but you didn't make it, ask for feedback. Ask what was wrong. Why you didn't get me? Was it my technical level not enough, not sufficient for this role? Or maybe I do something wrong on the interview? 4, or D, be ready to develop Be ready that being a programmer is a constant development, never stops, it never changes. Even when you are 30 plus, 40 plus, I'm sure technology will still change and you will always have to learn something new. Maybe you're not gonna be coding, maybe you're not gonna be typing yourself all the code, but you're gonna need to know, you're gonna learn all the architecture stuff and all the high level, more sophisticated subjects, because you may become like architect or some senior engineer or quality assurance or whatsoever. But for sure, if you are committing yourself for a development path, then for sure you need to be sure that this go along with a lot of learning, and this is gonna be part of your job if you want to be a good developer, obviously. And finally, what I said, if you got accepted and you fear that you don't know enough, don't worry, just go there, do whatever you do, be the best version of yourself. And remember, the lot of things cost you nothing. Being on time, being communicative, if something goes wrong, if the task got delayed, just telling to your manager, being open on it, telling what you are missing. Hey, you can go to your, this is also a game changer. I mean, you can go to your manager and say, hey, I see that we are doing project in this technology. I'm missing knowledge. Can I have some time dedicated for this technology? Because I'm going to require this when I'm going to build this project. And if he say yes, and he probably do, then go for it and just learn. Or maybe they can even pay you for some course. If not, no worry. Do what you can between 8 to 5. Do what you can, and after 5, go back, have a proper nap, make coffee, and learn by yourself. And this, what I promise you, all great developers went through. A lot of time invested in their self, because you are investing in yourself, not into your employer, because you're gonna change it. You're gonna change company. One day you may end up having your own company, but whatever you invest anytime in learning, it's something which you're investing in yourself, and that's gonna stay with you. And by the way, gonna be profitable for you and for any company or customer you are technically working with. And one thing which just came to my mind, we talk about it, being independent. I mean, the sooner you become this independent and trying to solve your issues on your behalf, the better, because there will be time in your life when you're gonna be the most senior person in the team. And when this happens, there will be no one to ask for a help, for a favor. So you're gonna have to deal with everything. So you might have even younger people who will come with the question, difficult question to you, and you're gonna be the one who has to answer that. So try to be as independent as possible. So what I'm trying to say that is, I love and I really admire when, for example, junior developers comes to me, and obviously they don't know how to solve this, but they are coming and they are not saying, hey, I have an issue, what do we do? What are we gonna do with that? No. Our junior developers, whenever they come to managers, they are coming and saying, hey, I've got an issue, I checked it, I Googled it, and I found 3 solutions, and I think the solution number 3 is the best one, but I would like to discuss with you 2 others, because maybe I'm missing something, but I believe that number 3 is the best. What do you think of it? It's totally different, and it's like 15 minutes more extra, which, by the way, you learn 3 new things, and in future, maybe it's not the 3rd solution which will be the best. Maybe the first one will be the best, and you already know that you can solve it in different ways. Okay, guys, let me know in a comment, what are the other difficult stuff for junior developers? What are the difficult stuff when you try to get first job, or you already got the first job? And well, I'm gonna do my best to answer that. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ask. We are here to help you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group. You're gonna find the description down below this video. So if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them, and see you in the next video.